Okay, and with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Susan Yang.
Good morning. Can you hear me well? I'm Susan Yang. I'm a professor of computational neuroscience and bioscience at Chapman University. By training, I am computational and experimental neuroscientist. What does that mean? So I've done a lot of neuroscience projects such as learning and memory function in the brain, epilepsy, 5-HT receptors with the medical marijuana. So if you guys have a little bit knowledge of neuroscience, I've done so much research in neuroscience. And the funny thing is, I asked Susan what you want me to talk about today, and she said she doesn't want me to talk about any of my research, unfortunately. So I guess that I will have another opportunity to talk about that later on. What I'm going to talk about today is some basics in brain, I would say brain structure and functions. And I would like to use some brain theories and models to talk about some fundamental aspects of the brain. Okay, so before I start my talk, I would like to have the video. Is video ready? The reason I wanted to show this video is that as we know, the brain is really a complex system. And the video we're going to see is a small part of a brain that has neurons and synapses. You guys are familiar with these terms? Neurons is the cells in the brain we call neurons. The synapses is a connection between neurons. Basically, this video is done by a friend of mine in MIT and shown at the Society for Neuroscience conference. And just to get an idea how complex our brain system is. So that's the purpose of showing this video. So basically, this is a neuron. Looks like coming out of the brain of the molecule or the membrane of the brain, and it has a central nervous system, which is a soma, dendrite, and type of structure. Now you start seeing some different shapes or structure of neurons in the brain. So as you watch this video, remember this is really a small part of the brain that has neurons and synapses, and we're talking about whole brain that has about 100 billion neurons. So just keep in mind that the scale that we're talking about here is really big scale and complex system. Okay, so the title of my talk, I don't have many slides, because I would like to have some Q&A in the end with enough time. What is a brain? So the way I'm gonna run my talk is there are 4 questions. So I'm gonna start off by asking question, what is a brain? And I will have 3 brain theories. Neuroscientists have studied a lot of the things about the brain, obviously, and they come up with many theories. But since I'm going to be talking about some basics of the brain, I will have some fundamental theories of the brain. And one of the theories I'm going to introduce is probably some of you guys heard of it, triune brain system. So I'm going to be talking about triune brain system with models. And then I'm going to finish my talk by asking, what is the mind? So we have a really 2 heavy topics today. However, don't worry. We're not going to get into too much detail. Rather, we're going to talk about some basics and open up question and answer. So, as I said, if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down because I have to play the computer as well. Neuroscientists have studied and come up with some theories. The first theory that I'm going to be talking about is the brain dominant theory. What it is actually each side of the brain controls different types of thinking. Just a second. Like this. You guys see this? This is plastic brain, obviously, it's different from our brain. So each side, the left and right, each side of a brain controls the different types of thinking. So we'll get into more details later. And another theory is called split brain theory. So basically it's similar to the first one. However, it says that the left hemisphere, this brain has a left and right hemispheres. A left hemisphere has a different task than right one. Again, we're going to be talking about this a little bit later on. The third one that I'm going to spend more time for, it's called triune brain theory. What it does is the scientist McLean came up with a theory that he identified 3 parts of the brain. It's called, or they are called neocortex, limbic system, and reptilian complex. So we will get into all this with some nice figures. So this is the first theory, the brain dominant theory. So, as you guys can see, the left and right, the left one has more into, I would say, some like languages, like a small analytical brain. However, the right side is more creative. So, as you can see, emotions, expression, and all that. However, the neuroscience researchers show this theory, left and right brain, the personality theory, is a myth. Which means there are a lot of studies on this, however, they think, is that right? Because if you think of how complex the brain is, by using this theory, not much you can explain. And also, in advanced neuroscientists or science said that the concept of this brain dominant theory is obsolete. So it gives us some questions. What are we going to do about this? The next theory is a split brain theory. Again, left and right. Okay? The left brain performs analytical, logical reasoning, and critical thinking. Again, it's a more intelligent brain, I would say. The right brain performs creativity, synthesizing, something that sort. So it's more like an artistic brain. All right. However, in 1981, the Sperry, he got the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine, cut off the corpus callosum. You see the right-hand side? And he studied this left and right hemisphere and said that if the hemispheres were not connected, basically cut off by two parts, they functioned independently of one another. So that's what it is, the split brain theory. However, in 2017, another neuroscientist showed clear evidence for unity of consciousness in split brain patient. In other words, although the brain was divided perception, but not undivided consciousness. So many questions arise. So now, this is one of the science writer who said, no matter how lateralized the brain can get, the two sides should work together. Remember the video that we watched, how they were connected to each other? Very complex way, right? So the question is again, how do we explain brain by using the theory of left and right brain theory? Okay? And another scientist, Jeff Anderson, says it's absolutely true that some brain functions occur in one or the other side of the brain. The language tends to be on the left, remember? Attention more on the right. But people don't tend to have a strong left and right side brain network. So it seems to be determined more connection by connection. So raise your hand because you think, oh, I'm more into left side brain. In other words, you guys, you have a more analytical or mathematics, and raise your hand if you think you left hand, okay? How about somebody who has a more creative brain, right side brain? If you go online, seriously, you can test your brain, which side of brain you have a more developed. But again, according to this science or neuroscience, say actually they're connected. So next theory, I'm going to be talking about the trillion brain theory. So the brain has three parts. Again, instead of it comes up with the three parts. One is a result brain, like reptile brain, mammal brain, human brain. So what that means is the reptile brain is like autopilot. You have to think of a fight or flight. Okay? And the next one is mammal brain. It's like a decision, small decision, emotions and memories and habits. Okay? And then the next one, we call human brain or neocortex, is more like why we're doing this or rationalize. So it's like a human brain, so to speak. This one is a trillion brain theory study. And it talks about the same three parts of the brain, and they name differently. So it says survival brain, emotional brain, thinking brain. But if you look at all the functions of it, it's pretty much the same as what I showed in the previous slide, right? So now, I'm going to show some brain models, trillion brain models, and this is a time to think for all of us. Whenever I teach a science class and I ask, what is a science, guys? I think the science is asking questions, right? In other words, you guys, we have to think when you do science. All right, so let us think together. If you see three parts of brain, again, this is a trillion brain model. You can see the reptile brain has a crisis. So we have to survive, right? The second brain is emotional brain. It's a why, that question. And then the human brain is thinking brain is what? Okay? So having all this together, now you see this big circle? The question arises how? That's probably more understanding of the brain, right? So now fun starts. This is a second triune brain model. Same thing. Reptilian brain, limbic system, and this one. So instead of having one part or the other, we start including small and all together. So this big circle, which we call neocortex or human brain, it's higher thinking skills. However, there's so many questions still remain. You guys still agree with me? And how about maybe some relationship between mind and brain? Maybe does it help? By asking this question, maybe it helps to understand brain better. Another fun brain model is called 3Q brain model. We all know IQ, right? That's, they said, the left brain. EQ, emotional brain, or emotional intelligence, EQ. Having this all together, or two parts together, they said SQ, spiritual intelligence, whatever that is. But that part of brain, or whole brain, contains left and right and side. Okay? And whenever we get together, neuroscientists or people said, how much do we know about the brain? Have you guys thought of it? So I'm going to use a quote by a good friend of ours. His name is Dan Seeger. You probably heard of his name. He's a psychiatrist in UCLA, very, very famous guy. And he said, we are just beginning to identify how systems in the brain work together in an integrated fashion to create a complex mental process. The mind, which can be defined as a process that regulates the flow of the energy and information, emerges from the activation of a neuronal circuit. This is by Dan Seeger. So mainly he taught us that we don't know much about the brain, and also you think about brain or study about the brain, we need to think about the mind, because that regulates, according to his opinion, regulates the flow of energy and information. So now, I'm going to summarize my talk. Again, we'll have more time in the end for Q&A. So the triune brain, or three brains, I talk about that, and then a mind, right? Since we have so many questions, or we don't know much about the brain, and we need a mind that regulates the flow of energy and information, by Dan Seeger saying, how do we sort of know what is mind? Or the relationship between the mind and the brain? Perhaps, since quantum physics based on quantum probability could help us to answer that question, and also to look into something inside rather than outside. Again, I'm very classical neuroscientist. I don't do much of a study in mind and the quantum and all that. However, we have Dr. Menas Kafatos, who's a quantum physicist. So we're gonna hear from him about what is mind, and also how do we use this relationship if we could in our everyday life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my talk by asking 3 big questions. The first question is, what is mind? Where is mind? How does mind connect to the brain? This is all I prepared. Have you guys learned a little bit about the brain?
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, welcome. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Dr. Kafatos, who's a quantum physicist. He has those long lines to introduce, but I'll do my best. I'll just pick some of it. Dr. Menas Kafatos is the Prester Jones Endowed Chair Professor of Computational Physics at Chapman University. He received a bachelor's in physics from Cornell, PhD from MIT. He worked in astrophysics, and now he works in Earth system science, particularly in quantum physics, exploring and writing about the consciousness and the universe. He has published about 330 papers, and he is author of editor of 20 books, including New York Times bestseller, You Are the Universe with Deepak Chopra, 1 book in Korean. Actually, this book has been sold out. And the 3 books in Greek. So here, please join me welcoming Professor Menas Kafatos.
Thank you, Susan. So what is mind and where is mind? Let's start with that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Should I do this? Yes? I'm always happy to be in the presence of Korean audience because I have a Korean wife, Korean friends. I go to Korea very often. In fact, we're going back to Korea in the end of December. And probably spend 2 months in very cold Seoul. People say, why did you come here in January? It's because in California the weather is always the same. So let's get a little bit cold. Actually, I don't like cold. I'm just giving you some my own personal things about why I like Korea. One of the things I really like about Korean homes is the hot, what do you call it, hot floor. Yeah, I really love that. Americans are so behind.
Do you agree with that?
You lie down like a cat on the hot floor. I always kid around with my Korean friends and Greek friends that when I travel, I get jet lag, like all of us, and so when I arrive in Korea after 12 hours of flight, as you know, there's 8 flights a day, then we go out, they go south, and I said, look, just landing in Seoul, wherever you go, if I take a nap, you don't mind, and they all know my little French habits, I will sleep anywhere like a cat. I won't sleep today because I'm giving the lecture. But if you want to sleep, it's okay. Close your eyes. It's fine with me. We spend 1/3 of our time sleeping, right? We're dreaming and deep sleep, and actually, you've heard the latest integrated view of the brain according to Susan. Don't mind if I call you Susan, right? We kid each other. But we don't know where the dreams come from. We don't know what deep sleep is, right? And so anyway, so she showed you some models of the brain. I will show you also. So this is a plastic thing that actually is good for doing this. That's what it's for.
So that's what it is.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah. Well, not only that, when you're stressed out, you can squeeze.
Exactly. You can squeeze, but I squeeze in your brain, you squeeze. That stuff's in the brain. Actually, you mentioned neuroplasticity. You took the words out of my mouth. The brain has an amazing capacity to adjust itself. It's also, even though we believe it's at the center of pain and pleasure, right? Because we said that Susan mentioned that the midbrain or the mammalian brain is where the emotions are, and of course also where you get the pain and pleasure, so to speak. Actually, if you open up the skull and you start cutting the brain, for example, there's God forbid there's something inside the brain that they need to take out. The brain feels no pain. Absolutely no pain. It's really very strange. So we don't quite know everything about the brain, but we also know that it can adjust, and the two hemispheres can actually take up part of the work of the other hemisphere if there's damage in one of the two hemispheres. There has been actually, you can see everything now on the YouTube. There's so much information. We spend 1/3 of our time sleeping, so it's okay to fall asleep today here. Okay, but all kidding aside, as you listen to my voice, I want to ask you a question. Where does my voice come from? First question. Just contemplate that. Just try and answer. Just contemplate the question. Where does my voice come from? From my mouth. From my face, my mouth, my larynx. Second question. So far so good. Second question. Where do you hear my voice? Where do you hear my voice?
Ears.
You say ears. So far so good, right? Now, the third question. Who is doing the hearing? Who is doing the hearing?
I.
Ah, I. That's what we want to hear. I. Okay. You can turn on the lights again. So we have this sense of I-ness. And we associate our I-ness with I hear, I see, I taste, I drink my coffee in the morning, I fall asleep. But all these things are functions of the ears, of the tongue, speaking. There's always someone at the back, and we're not going to explore that person, if you want to call it person. And that is our sense of existence, our sense of I-ness. I'm not going to ask very good neuroscientists we have in the audience, Susan Yang, where is the I in the brain? Because I can tell you the punchline, they have not found the seat of the I in the brain. In fact, the ancient Egyptians, 5,000 years ago, they thought that the seat of the mind, and we're going to get the I in the mind, was actually in the heart, not in the brain. Were they wrong, the ancient Egyptians? I don't know. So they would mummify, as you know, and actually they just found another mummy in Egypt. They were mummifying the heart, but not the brain. I say, well, they didn't know neuroscience. Actually, ancient Greeks and ancient Egyptians did perform operations in the brain. It's amazing. Hippocrates in Greece knew about operations without anesthesia. Remember, if you have to go into the brain to do something, piece of cake as far as pain, because the brain feels no pain. but the rest of your body feels pain. This is all introduction. I'm just mumbling. Actually, not mumbling. I'm trying to get you to ask a certain number of questions because, as Albert Einstein said, before you answer anything, you got to ask the right questions. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out. Our society today is asking all kinds of strange questions. That's why our society is in a mess, because we don't ask the fundamental question. And I'll tell you the fundamental question as far as I'm concerned. We're going to come back to it. Fundamental question is, who am I? Who are you? We're going to come back to that question. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Mind and everyday life. You see the punchline. We heard a wonderful presentation. I actually learned a lot when Susan was putting together the slides about the brain, the operation of the brain. It's really very fascinating. He has 100 trillion synapses or more. 10 billion.
neurons.
How many?
100 billion.
100 billion.
They're all connected.
So it's trillions and trillions of synapses. 100 billion. Billion is way more than the deficit of this country. Right? 100 billion is 100,000 million. 100,000 million. I think in terms of dollars, there's 2 human beings that are 100 billionaires, right? Pesos and.
I'm not interested.
What do they do with all that money? Can't even count it. Anyway, so 100 billion neurons with trillions of synapses, and you saw at the very beginning this simulation of the neurons, how they are connected. So, for the life of me, how does the mind come out of all this intricate, extremely intricate set of wires, if you want to call them wires? The punchline is we have no idea. But to get to somewhere, we got to ask, what do we mean by mind? What is the mind? Okay, so the hardware. And I brought my own model of the brain. This is my model of the brain. Have you noticed how we go around all the time? In Korea, in the subway, in the metro, we're all over. And I thought at the beginning it's just young people. But no, people my age, our age, no matter what you are, there are more cell phones in the world than there are beds in the world. Some people don't have beds to sleep on, but they have these contraptions, I think I can call it. 10 years ago, they were not sophisticated. This is a supercomputer. 20 years ago, this would be a supercomputer. Why am I saying this? Because this is a physical thing. The brain is a physical thing. Would you say that when you answer phone, or when you see an image in your phone, that that person who speaks to you is inside the phone? If that was the case, they would lock you up. Would you say that the video that you see is in here? No. It's somewhere else. So my model of the brain is maybe something else is everywhere or somewhere. And the brain is needed to download the information or upload the information. That would be an interesting model of the brain. However, this is very important. Without it, if this is damaged, you cannot, right? Some of the neural diseases, right, Susan? We know that she has models, they do models of neurons, and they can actually simulate very well some of the conditions. You probably, as you know, because a lot of your MDs, some of these conditions. So if the brain is not working, there are problems, serious problems. But it's also plastic, like this one. You can adjust. It's actually marvelous, a marvelous system. It is what makes us human beings. The neocortex makes us human beings. Actually, I have a number of biologist friends, and they say neurons are also in animals. Actually, neurons are in the heart. So it's not just the neurons per se, but it's the vast complexity of the brain that's associated with higher functions that we call the mind. And it's so a nice definition of the mind according to Dan Siegel. Actually, Dan Siegel says something else. He goes to conferences about not neuroscience, but psychology, psychiatry, psychology. Those conferences he goes. And they're not talking about the mind. So one time he's a very famous professor at UCLA. One time he said, "Hey guys, we're all here. Why don't we talk about the mind? That's supposed to, we're supposed to give advice to people about it, mental. But we don't talk about the mind. Nobody talks. It's a huge elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about it. Actually, the mind is not in the room. So here's a question for you. You can close your eyes again. And contemplate the question that I think Susan saw last. Where is my mind? Where is my mind? You can open your eyes. Point to me, where is your mind? With your finger, please. Gentlemen, pointed here. You pointed here. That's a good answer. I lost it. We point here, we point here, we point. Nobody points here. This is my mind. Everybody will laugh.
I think it's here.
If you are in martial arts, right, you better have a good chi, right? You better have a good chi, because when you do your martial arts, you got to be concentrated here. The point is that the mind is everywhere. Your mind. Could be here, could be here, could be here. However, we need the brain for the higher functions of the mind. There are other advanced animals. Whales. I'm sure it's light. Maybe we don't need slides. There are other advanced animals, like whales. Octopus, very advanced. We keep eating them. They're actually quite advanced. We don't like to eat whales. We're not supposed to eat whales, right? Except a couple of countries we're not going to mention today. They're eating whales. Whales are very advanced mammals. The biggest animal on Earth is Brontosaurus, that they became extinct 66 million years ago. It's the blue whale. It's the biggest animal that ever lived on Earth. So big that if it was on land, it could not hold itself. That's why it's got to be in the water. Why am I talking about whales? Because they can communicate. They can communicate with each other across the entire Earth. With our sound around the Earth, they communicate. this frequency they can pick up through the water. Yet, they don't have these things. I think they're very happy that they don't have them. They don't answer phone calls, except through this, what do you call it, not ultrasound, what's it called? Huh? Yeah, ecofrequency, some, sound, the sound that they actually can pick up. They know each other, the mother knows the child, etc., etc. So there's forms of communication. I'm getting to the point about quantum physics, but you see the same. What does that have to do with everyday life? If you lost your mind, your everyday life, not very good. And what do we do with mental illnesses? It's actually a big crime. I won't talk about social issues today, but actually how we treat people that have mental issues, many times it's a crime. If somebody has cancer, God forbid, if somebody has heart, we're very compassionate, very understanding. But when somebody has mental issues, we say, ooh. So here's the question. I will ask a question, I will answer. The reason I believe is because the mind is so powerful. It is the foundation of our life. You can survive without one hand. You can survive without one leg. You can even survive without your original heart. We know that today. You can survive without kidneys. Well, it's difficult. You have these dialysis machines. But you can plug yourself into the dialysis machine, survive, and be able to talk. Not survive the whole time your mind. The most precious thing in the world is the mind. The most precious thing in the world. How much money would you give if you lost or you're losing your mind and you were a rich person? If somebody said, okay, you know what? I give you your mind back. I got to pay me a lot of money. This is a hypothetical situation. What price will you put on your mind? Priceless. Exactly. 1 million? Say, okay, I'll give you $1 million. This other person says, 1 million? You are really undervalued your mind. How about 100 million? And you're a multi-millionaire. Says, okay, I'll give you 100 million. Says, no. Too cheap. I want all your money. And you have $10 billion you're worth. I bet you would give your $10 billion to get back your mind. Take it all. The mind is priceless. We don't pay attention to it because we pay attention to the physical aspects. So I'll come down in terms of everyday life. These are some of the points I was saying. What is the mind? What is this sense of self I exist? We'll leave that last. But let's start with the mind. So, all of these things I was saying was really basic of this life. Aha! Quantum laws. Now quantum physics enters the picture. Somebody may say, why are you talking about quantum physics? It's hardly so. I never took it in college. My God, this guy is talking about quantum physics. I understand. You better understand, or you better have some understanding of quantum physics, because everything is quantum. Your body works as a quantum system. The biggest issue right now in science is in unification of quantum physics with general relativity of Einstein. Has not been solved. The problem has not been solved. I'll show you why quantum is so important. Quantum means tiny, bit. It was 1900, Christmas 1900 in fact, that Max Planck published his theory of the black body radiation. I won't go into that. It was the beginning of the quantum revolution. Max Planck was a very conservative German physicist, but he was an honest physicist and realized that the physics that they knew up to that point, which is called classical physics, could not explain certain phenomena. There had to be some radical changes. So one thing about the mind, it can make radical changes. Human beings don't like change, do we? We hate change. We hate change. And I always laugh, and I say, are we all prepared for the biggest change in our life? Which is our own death? No, never. It's one thing. That is 100-pound or gorilla, whatever. The big elephant, white elephant in the room that nobody wants to address. It's 100% sure. 100% sure. If you have a body, you're going to die. We never talk about it. And what is the reason for that? Because we identify with the body. The mind identifies with the body. Actually, the good news is, maybe there's something way more than we believe exists. Maybe our mind is outside of space and time. It's actually what quantum physics is beginning to say. Outside of space and time, because we're used to space and time. So there are three laws. Here they are. And rather than say this is the model of the three laws, let's say this is the model of the three laws. Okay? First, complementarity. It's a mouthful. Or integrated polarity. Or left brain, right brain. They look different, they are together. Actually, sometimes I joke and I say the left brain, the right brain is like a very unhappy couple who cannot get divorced. They're stuck together in a cage. They got to live together. We all laugh, right? Because most of us are married. Marriage requires an integrated approach. If you stick to your own left brain, and your partner is the right brain, and then you need the corpus callosum to bring it together. By the way, the corpus callosum are called children. That's why we have children. They're colossal. Once you have children, you have colossal problems. But actually, children bring us together, right? Children bring us together. Grandchildren bring us together even more. Because they're not yours, somebody else's problem, that you can play with them. Okay. Complementarity. Left brain, right brain. They're together, but they're not together. That's the first thing about quantum physics. It's actually Niels Bohr who came up with that idea. Second, recursion, universality. Here's a little thing. Whatever my brain is doing, your brain more or less does the same thing. And his brain, and her brain, 7 billion human beings, our brains more or less function the same way. Universality. In fact, animals have feelings. By the way, if you have an animal, you know that. An animal can pick up. A dog knows when his master is coming miles away. They already have studies of that. How does a dog know that his master is coming home? Hearings, but I think it's more than that. It's a sense. Maybe it's the hearing and smell, but wait a second, way far away, 10 miles away. Boy, they're really amazing. Mosquitoes can pick up their victims. Moggy, right? That's great. Miles away, mosquitoes. Temperature. Boy, do they pick up temperature 10 miles away with all the temperature changes? There is another sense. I think something else is going on. But the second law is whatever is happening to you is happening to somebody else. The third is interactivity. The two interact together. Left brain, right brain interact together. This comes from quantum physics. So hopefully I prove to you that quantum physics is very relevant to your life. Because if you start observing these three laws of the universe, you'll see them working all the time, everywhere. I'll skip that one. So I'll go back to the slide that Susan said. We heard about the brain. Now, an arrow says one mind. Max Planck, the same person who talked about quantum physics, said, you cannot divide the mind. Erwin Schrödinger. We found, who's also one of the founders of quantum physics, we found that the functions of the left brain and the right brain are different, right? More on one, more on the other. However, the sense of consciousness is undivided, as we heard from Dan Siegel, right? The sense of consciousness, the sense of mind is undivided. When you pick up a phone call, do you say, oh, the phone call is originated here, and you gotta go here? You don't pay any attention to that. You say, hello, how are you doing? But this is a device. Maybe the brain is a device to connect to one mind. What is one mind? One mind is your mind. Sometimes we have some expressions. I cannot make up my mind. Right? I cannot make up my mind. Notice what I just said. I, who is the I, cannot make up my mind. We actually can observe our own mind. And actually this is what quantum physics says. There is observer. There's an observer. So the reason we have this little cloud of probabilities is because quantum physics says the world is made up of probabilities. What kind of world will you live in if somebody by magic came in and told you, I will tell you every day from now on until the rest of your life what you'll be doing every day, who you'll be seeing, where you'll be traveling, the problems you're going to come up with. You say, oh, that's wonderful. No, it will be terrible. You are going to go crazy. It's the uncertainty that makes life so interesting. I don't know, maybe tomorrow I'm going to go out to the movies with my best friend. Or maybe not, I'm just going to go to karaoke. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll have a meal, maybe Italian meal, or maybe, well, that's time to have a good Korean barbecue. It's these decisions that are probabilistic that make life interesting and give us the impression of a free will. I say impression because we do have free will, but not 100%. I have a will to fly. Well, I have a physical body. If I want to fly, I better get on a plane. I can't just flop like this and fly. Except in dreams, right? Sometimes in dreams you fly. So, but certainly certain things we do have free will. Actually, the biggest free will we have is how we feel. You want to bring up the past all the time? Oh, yeah, she did this to me. How can she do that to me? Or how can he do that to me? Oh, that guy, I finally divorced him. Okay, divorce the guy. Why are you still carrying that feeling inside you? So we do have free will, but we are bound by our bodies and our minds. The same way that we have a little bit of free will to answer the phone or not answer the phone. I keep telling Susan one of these days, I get so tired of it, I will grab this and throw it in the Pacific Ocean, probably pollute Pacific Ocean. One reason I like going to Korea is because for 12 hours, this thing is off, and I can read a book, and watch movies, and drink a glass of wine, have a nice Korean meal. We have become slaves of these things. But we have these quantum cloud probabilities. The world is quantum. The question is, what is inside? Is there an I there? It's a little of a joke here, because it's an I, but it's also the I. With an I. What is inside? What is inside is what is outside. Let's just say, on the left side, this is not left brain and right brain. On the left side is the universal laws. On the right side is the most fundamental powers of your existence. Intent. If you want to drive a car, you have to have the desire to drive a car. Second, you need to know how to drive the car. You say, I want to drive a car, but I don't have a license. You better not drive the car. If you get stopped by highway police and say, sir, may I see your license? Say, I don't have a license, I never. You need to know how to drive a car. And then you've got to get in the car to drive. These days, cars drive themselves. On the right side is the powers of our existence. On the left side is the laws of the universe. There's a mapping between the two. And this is actually what I believe might be a secret to the statement that you are the universe that Deepak Chopra and I wrote. Our sense of existence is tied to this universal law. So here are the 8 steps, and then we can stop at this point. I'll read them to you, and maybe we'll take 1 or 2 of them. First one, expect the unexpected. This is actually a quantum law, because in quantum theory, you don't know what's going to happen. So this is actually quantum law. We think, and I'll go fast forward to the, it's the same thing, right? We think, in most of our life, you see number 1, expect and unexpected. In most of our life, our plans don't go as planned. Do they? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're supposed to go that way, but something happens. The road is closed, you cannot go that way. We were supposed to be here at 10:15, and we drive, but 4:05. And Susan said, it's called 4:05 because it takes 4 or 5 hours if you get stuck. So we made it on time, more or less. But there was traffic, there was an accident. Because we're so attached to ourselves, to our own self, to our own mind, we think we know and we expect the expected. Quantum physics says unexpected. Expect the expected. What happens if unexpected happens? The stocks that you have, they crash. People actually who that happens, they have a heart attack, they commit suicide, or they jump off, whatever, or they become really ill. They didn't expect for the stock that they own to crash. They do. Second, and then we'll probably stop at that point. Pay attention to little things in your life. Pay attention to little things in your life. And then I'll go back and read all of them. We pay attention to the big things of our life. Oh, I want to become a millionaire. I want to become the president of South Korea. I want to do that. Or whatever. I want to become the president of the United States. Well, in my case, I cannot because I was not born in this country, so it's okay. I want to seek the presidency of the United States. We look for big things, big picture. It's the little things that matter. The little cup of coffee. Drive slowly. When somebody is very angry at you, take it easy. Say, okay, maybe he had a bad day today. Maybe the stocks that he already crashed is really angry. Or maybe he had a fight with his wife or his child. Pay little attention to us. This water is very little, right? You know how much work has gone to produce this bottle of water? How many people are involved in this? Don't pay attention to the bottle of water. Not to mention this, how much work has gone to produce this. So I will go back. And I'll read you those, not this point we'll stop. We'll have a little concentration. You can close your eyes, because I'd like you to take the message of these 8 steps. And then maybe you can talk a couple of them. Expect the unexpected. Second, pay attention to little things in your life. You only see results afterwards, after specific things have happened, not before. The mind says, I want to know now. Hold on. You will know later on. Therefore, tell your mind and your ego to wait. Wait. Number 5, one step at a time. Even a cheetah, or the fastest running animal, you take it slow motion moves, it's one step at a time. It jumps. It's not flying, it's going very fast. Even a bird that flies, it's one flop at a time, one step at a time. Then, if you start following these 5 simple rules, you will notice that things begin to happen faster and faster. Move faster and faster. Why is that? Because you can do more and more things by paying attention to time. Number 7, it's not the worst, by the way. Number 7 is not the worst. Remember your own death, which means remember your own life. Remember how you were when you were very young. And what are you now? You still have this sense of I-ness, I exist. The worst thing is, number 8, things that happen in our life which give us hard time are the ones that really advance us. If you had to take that exam, hard exam to study, you passed it, you got the degree. And finally, number 9. That's the icing on the cake. Just be. The 8 steps are really together, so the 9th step, and just exist as you are. So finish with the 9th step. You can turn off the lights. I'm going to sit down myself. Close the eyes, turn off the lights. And we just do a little bit of concentration. The concentration is just be with yourself. Just be with yourself. And to give us some support, because the mind keeps asking questions. I would like you to pay attention to your breath. Just pay attention. You don't need to breathe fast or slowly. Just pay attention to your breath. And keep being there. We'll stay like this for a couple of minutes. Following our breath. And before we open our eyes, we'll see if we have our eyes closed, if you like. Just notice what happens to your mind with your breath. Just notice what happens to your mind with your breath. Okay, you can turn off the lights. And I will finish with 3 questions which I will not give an answer. Here are the 3 questions. Where am I going? I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about each one of us. Where am I going? Second, what is my purpose? You are here on earth for a purpose. You know that. What is my purpose? Where am I going? I believe that only if you start contemplating those first 2 questions, you can come to the 3rd question, which is the big enchilada. Who am I? If you ask the question, who am I? Say, well, where am I going? What's my purpose? You notice how people drive all crazy? Where are they going? We live on the 5th floor, the busy street in Los Angeles. It's so fun to watch these cars. Where are you going? What is my purpose? Contemplating those 2 questions, using perhaps the 8 steps, you can be, I am. And then truly answer the question in your heart. I know who I am. Who am I? I know who I am. If you don't know where you're going, and you don't know what your purpose is, you're lost like a shipwreck in the ocean. Kamsahamnida, thank you.